time. But then, meanwhile, the Ministry of Education is set to inspect the preparedness of private schools for junior secondary. Education Cabinet Secretary Prof George Magoha says the government seeks to establish whether schools have adequate infrastructure for the junior secondary rollout. And as Shadrach Miti reports, the latest World Bank report on Kenya's education spending and priorities after COVID-19 has remained low on development, limiting the ability to improve infrastructure in schools.
After private schools owners expressed concerns over what they termed as government sidelining them in the implementation of junior secondary, Education Cabinet Secretary Prof George Magoha has finally come out with a plan to assess all private schools to see whether they have enough infrastructure for junior secondary. The government had targeted to construct 10,000 CBC classrooms ahead of next year's rollout of junior secondary. The Education CS says 6,000 classrooms have so far been constructed.
Because having an election does not mean we stop working. We shall continue working as usual. And being a minister for government, we stop working when the new minister is sworn in. So I'm hoping that we still have about 3 months to the time the new government is sworn in. And therefore we shall deliver what His Excellency the President promised the public, the 10,000 classrooms ready for our children to occupy in January.
Next year threatens to stretch infrastructure in public secondary schools to the limits. 2.5 million learners are expected to transition to secondary. And the Minister of Education is facing a huge dilemma of taking all the entire 1.2 million learners under the 844 system, thanks to 100% transition policy.
And therefore, there should be no fear as to what is going to happen to the children. The government is pretty well prepared. The only one thing that I keep saying is that the process of how the children are going to apply to go into to junior secondary school is being worked on, and we shall make sure that the children are advised as to how to apply, to where to go. The usual cutthroat competition, I think, will wait until year 9.
According to the Kenya Private Schools Association chairperson Charles Ochome, private schools have already constructed 1,200 CBC classrooms for junior secondary.
That is an extra space that is available for us, and the government is going to continue to facilitate and ensure that these schools are registered as quickly as possible.
Last week, the CS was in Nyanza region where he inspected several private schools, among them Mudasa Academy and Golden Elite Schools. Shadrach Miti, KT News.
So meanwhile, a family in Kibigo's Elgeyo Marakwet County wants a military man questioned in connection with the death of a university student through an alleged motorcycle accident. Habakuk Kipkwech, a Chuka University information technology student, was involved in a road accident on May 1st, but died in the intensive care unit at